Actually defining what a performance car is these days is getting very, very difficult to do. And when you've got better than $80,000 to spend, your choices are amazing. We've got turbocharged all-wheel drive cars, we've got a pair of Porsches, and we've even got an old-fashioned muscle car.
This year we have the Mercedes AMG E63S, the new Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio, the latest Audi TT RS, and a pair of Porsches, the 911 GTS and the Cayman. If Porsche has made a bad 911, we haven't driven it. And the thing is that every model is better than the last, which, given the 911's 5-decade history, suggests this latest one must be brilliant. And so it is, with a level of balance and performance that the others may never match. The GTS trim level has always been a winner in Porsches, and this one is no different.
The 911 GTS is still the sweet spot in Porsche's iconic coupe range, and this thing is just delightful to drive.
The problem is, though, that the Porsche is horrendously expensive. Not that the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio is cheap, but Alfa has finally done the right thing by enthusiasts and made its new Giulia a rear-wheel drive car.
Alfa Romeo promised to come back with a bang with the Giulia, and they have. The Quadrifoglio version really is a powerhouse of performance.
Throw a monster of a turbocharged V6 into that mix, and you have the Quadrifoglio. Testing it showed to be a true BMW M3 AMG C63 competitor. And if you were thinking of not taking it seriously, guess again. It steers and handles like a proper performance sedan, and it looks sharp too. Good though the Alfa is, our judges felt that it was just a little too track-oriented with its race-spec brakes and stiff suspension. And it doesn't really need to be that way, because making firm suspension work with a supple ride is a specialty of the Porsche Cayman, which means our track testing showed it to be razor sharp, while it's also super livable on the road. The exception to that would be the cabin, which is noticeably short on storage spaces.
Porsche Cayman is all about balance. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, it's just right in the way that it approaches corners. It's a car that you can just throw into a bend and know that it will stick. It's such a honey to drive on track and on the road.
Meanwhile, our road loop also showed the Cayman to be extremely noisy inside. And with the move to a 4-cylinder engine, it's not the noise we all knew and loved. No complaints with the 5-cylinder shriek from the Audi TT RS though, and our real-world road loop really suited the Audi's manners, showing off its taut suspension and superb grip. There's a bit of theatre to the Audi too, starting with that soundtrack and extending to the cabin layout and the tactile controls.
Although lesser versions of Audi TTs may not be hailed for their performance abilities, the TT RS turns that on its head. Using Audi's iconic inline 5-cylinder engine, it's basically a supercar in a small car package.
The catch was when the Audi hit the track and its all-wheel drive system was found a bit wanting in front-end grip. It simply can't maintain the grip levels it should when push comes to shove.
Judging in this category created quite a few heated arguments. It's not every day, for instance, that you pass over two Porsches, but in the end, this car, the AMG E63S, got the votes.
Everything about the E63S is impressive, but it's that V8 engine that is the real talking point. It cranks out masses of power and torque, and is one of those cars that forces you to evaluate your choice every single time you consider flooring the throttle. Here is a car that will run out of straight road long before it runs out of puff.
Expensive performance cars, it's a bit of a grey area. There's not really a right or wrong answer. You can't just put the numbers into the box and pull out the winner based on mathematics. There's also passion to be considered. And sure, this car does tick all the other boxes with its safety and its technology. And let's face it, it's an E-Class Mercedes, so it's never going to be a piece of rubbish. But you've still got to consider it's a performance car. It's got to do things to you in the nether regions that other cars don't. So that's where this car came into its own. It is actually still quite good value. At 200 odd grand, it still undercuts the Porsche 911 GTS by a good $100,000. So even though 200 sounds a fair bit of money, in this rarefied atmosphere, it's actually starting to look like value. And either way you cut the deck, when you stand on this thing, it goes like crazy. This is not an engine. It's a thermonuclear device that I reckon North Korea would be proud of. The automatic gearbox works extremely well with it. It puts to the sword the theory that you need a manual gearbox to have a high performance car. The automatic transmission in this car is column shifted, which to me is the one thing that doesn't really gel. I like something a bit sportier with a T-bar shifter, but you do get used to it, and it does clear up a bit of space here. You've got more room in the console. Not that practicality has a whole lot to do with this class of car, because it's all about how it makes you feel. And Australians love AMGs. We're a very high consumer of AMG options in our Mercedes-Benz on a global scale, and that's reflected in the fact that Mercedes continues to bring these cars to us. This car now is all-wheel drive, and it's sure-footed, it's safe. It's a car you could drive in the wet, no problems. You could take it to the snow, no problems. It's also a car that you could put your grandma in and send her to the shops for bread and milk. She'd be quite okay. In fact, most drivers are going to be as fast around a track, probably faster in fact, in this than in a bona fide supercar or a conventional supercar like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. It's that good, it's that accessible, and really when it came to the crunch, our judges just couldn't go past it. And when it can do this, what's not to like?
When a car threatens to skew the laws of physics, you know it's special. That's what the AMG E63S has done, and that's why it's Drive's performance car over $60,000 for 2017.